Good morning. So, this is the reading related to tourism, IELTS reading. Fine. So, let's start. The market for tourism in remote area is booming as never before. So, we will be looking at the vocabularies also in details and whether we can use the same sentence for your speaking as well as your writing section. That's what our aim is. If you are lucky enough, definitely you will be getting the sentence ideas, similar ideas even in the listening section. So this is also a good sentence related to tourism. The market of tourism in remote areas, in village, in countryside, in remote areas is booming, flourish. Booming means what? Flourishing as never before. More than anything, nowadays, more than that, you can say as never before. Okay, booming means successful. Business is booming at the moment. High-end designers are chasing and booming the children's wear market. Now next is, so countries all across the world are actively promoting their wilderness regions. So that countryside regions. So what do you mean by wilderness regions? Such as mountains, Arctic lands, deserts, one is only. Okay. If it's ice cream, what you will say? Yes, I want twice. Okay, but if it's desert, that we will say no one is interested for that desert. One S. Okay, deserts, small islands. I talked about the spellings. Okay, now small islands and wetlands to high spending tourists. So tourists doesn't means that they go visit only this beautiful townscape, landscape, or any amusement parks. They also visit wilderness regions such as mountains, Arctic lands, deserts, small islands, wetlands, see wetlands. Okay, to high spending tourist. Okay, high spending tourist. Okay, the attraction of these areas is obvious means clear. By definition, wilderness tourism requires little or no initial investments. So that's the reason why government is encouraging the tourism in the wilderness, because there is little or no initial investments for this wilderness tourism. So if they are going, they want to see desert, no one can modify a desert, right? They are expecting that natural place. So comparatively, that investment is comparatively lesser. That's what they say over here. The attraction of these areas is obvious. See, obvious, colon. By definition, wilderness, say theoretically. By definition, wilderness tourism requires little or no initial investment. But that does not mean that there is no cost. As the 1992 United Nations Conference on Environment and Development recognize, okay, these regions are fragile. See, fragile or highly sensitive area. Okay, this is a common vocabulary which will be repeating. These regions are fragile, which means highly vulnerable to abnormal pressure. Not just in terms of their ecology, but also in terms of their culture of their inhabitants, that native people. Okay, not just, see how they started, not also but also, right? Not just in terms of their ecology, but also in terms of, so you can remember in sentence you can start write like this: not just in terms of their ecology, but also, 2 points are there. Okay, you can write it not just in terms of their ecology but also in terms of the culture of their inhabitants. Vulnerable means what? See, vulnerable we heard a lot. This is a benign vocabulary. See, able to be easily physically or mentally hurt, influenced or attacked. So it is easily attackable, easily able to be easily physically okay, it could be physically or mentally hurt, influenced or attacked. So that's known as vulnerable place. I feel very vulnerable standing there without any clothes on. So mental torture, physical torture, that thing. It is on economic policy that the government is most vulnerable. Tourists are more vulnerable to attack because they do not know which areas of the cities to avoid. So these are the opposite is invulnerable. The three most significant types of fragile environment in these respects and also in terms, before we studied not just in terms of their ecology but also in terms of, right? So here how they used, okay, in these respects and also in terms of, previously we used not just in terms, right? Not just in terms, also in terms of the proportion. Two reasons they explain. So the three most significant types of fragile environment in these respects and also in terms of the proportion of the Earth's surface they cover are deserts, mountains and Arctic areas. See, why I stressed over here, because can we use this type of sentence when we are framing for our essays? That's what I am looking at. So if you catch that idea, it will be good. In this respect, dash at the end, in this respect, comma, and also in terms of dash. If you are able to catch it, if then it's fine, otherwise just leave it. And important characteristics is their marked seasonality. So important characteristics, okay. What is the meaning of characteristics? Which means a typical or noticeable quality of something or someone, okay. Noticeable thing, noticeable quality. So sentence are, unfortunately a big nose is a family characteristics. It's easy to note. Sentimentality seems a characteristic of all the writers of that period. The male birds displays several characteristics which distinguish him from the female. Noticeable, something noticeable. An important characteristic is their marked seasonality, with harsh conditions prevailing for many months each year. So the important noticeable thing is that their marked seasonality. It's different, with harsh conditions prevailing for many months each year, extending in that sense. So consequently, comma, see after consequently, if you are starting a sentence after consequently, then you have to write a comma. If you are writing this consequently within the sentence, then you don't need a comma. Consequently, most human activities including tourism are limited to quite clearly defined parts of the year. So seasonality, right? Seasonality. Defined parts of the year, not every time. Defined parts of the year means what? Season. Okay. Consequently, most human activities including tourism are limited to quite clearly defined parts of the year. Tourists are drawn to these regions by their natural landscape beauty and the unique cultures of their indigenous. See, what is the problem with the tourist spots? is that it affects the indigenous people, that local community, that regional community, same thing only, synonyms. Okay, tourists are drawn to these regions by their natural landscape beauty and the unique cultures of their indigenous people. Next sentence is, and poor government in these isolated areas have welcomed the new breed of adventure tourists. See, they will be like, even they like extreme sports, like welcome the new breed. See that word, tourist means what? New breed of adventure tourists. They like to travel unique places. Okay, grateful for the hard currency, for their money. Hard currency they bring. So instead of money, the economy, hard currency, also you can write the spelling of grateful. For several years now, tourism has been the prime source of foreign exchange. Prime source of foreign exchange. For several years now. You might be writing for the past few decades. Instead of that, you can write for several years now. So, tourism has been, the usage of has been sentence, the prime source of foreign exchange. Tourism is also a key element in the economies of key element. So that is known as the source of hard currency, right? Or primary source of foreign exchange. A key element, primary source, a key element in the economies of Arctic zones such as dash dash, and in desert areas such as dash in Australia and dash. Once a location is valley and all, you can say, okay, desert, valley, that's the wilderness. Once a location is established as a main tourist destination, the effects on the local communities are profound. It has profound effects, or you can say our local community are profound. The effects, the. Now it's a story. When hill farmers, for example, can make more money in a few weeks working as porters for foreign trekkers than they can in a year. You can use this example for the example, the same idea. When hill farmers, okay, hill farmers, hyphenator, for example, okay, say if they didn't start for example, they use the for example with two comma within the sentence. When hill farmers, for example, can make more money in a few weeks working as porter for foreign trekkers than they can in a year working in the fields, it is not surprising that, see, they didn't make it a separate sentence, that's why they used comma. It is not surprising that many of them they give up their farm work, which is thus left to other members of the family. In some hill regions, this has led to a serious decline in farm output and a change in the local diet because there is insufficient labor to maintain terraces and irrigation systems and tend to crops. Terraces and irrigation system and tend to crops. Insufficient labor. Serious decline in farm output. So, see, that's what they are saying is that if tourists are visiting at that time, that local, it will affect indigenous people because those farmers, they will become that chef, right? They will become, the fisherman will be running the cottage. So that job, everything will be getting changed, deviated to a different position, and as a result that they are not cultivating any farmland, they are not going for fishing, they change their culture. The result has been that many people in these regions have turned to outside supplies of rice and other foods. In Arctic and desert societies, year round, whole year round, survival has traditionally depended on hunting animals and fish and collecting fruit over a relatively short season. They say this usage of relatively short season, seasonality, part of the year. So that everything is season. Okay. However, from where I got that idea? I got from the same reading. However, as some inhabitants, people, become involved in tourism, they no longer have time to collect wild food. This has led to increasing dependence depended dependence on bought food and stores. See, the variation in on is the preposition, how they are changing that family word, dependent, dependence, depended. Okay, that we have to pay attention to. Tourism is not always the culprit, criminal, behind such changes. All kinds of wage labor or government handouts tend to undermine traditional survival systems. Traditional survival system. All kinds of wage labor, government information tend to overlook or underestimate or undermine traditional survival systems. Handout means government information. Okay, this is the meaning. This is the sentence dilemma. That the problem, okay, that contrasting point. Whatever the cause, the dilemma, that circumstances which is opposite. Whatever the causes, dilemma is always the same. You will be thinking this as a band name vocabulary. Actually, it's not. Okay. Whatever the cause, whatever, in the second, if cause solution essay is there. So in the solution, you can start write this. Whatever the cause, the dilemma is always the result. That circumstance is always the same. What happens if these new external source of income dry up? Okay, so you can use this same sentence, okay, with a little modification here and there in your solution essay. Whatever the cause, sometimes they even problem solution essay, they won't even ask for the cause, right? So you don't have to waste the time explaining the cause. Whatever the cause, the dilemma is always the same. The dilemma is always the same. And what happens if these new external sources of income dry up? If there is no income. The physical impact of visitors is another serious problem associated with the growth in adventure tourism. Fine. Much attention has physical impact, profound impact, physical impact is another serious problem. What are the different problems? Dash is another serious problem associated with dash, associated with the growth in, so growth of, we won't say, growth in adventure tourism. Much attention has focused on erosion. See, so much attention has focused on erosion along major trails. Trail is the path where you go for trekking, right? There is a narrow path that is known as trail. But perhaps more important are the deforestation and impacts on water supply. So the problem with tourism is that erosion along major trails. See, you will study the point, but you don't know, you won't be studying, or you don't know how to use this type of that sentence. Okay. Much attention, see, unnecessary attention has been focused. Much attention has focused on erosion along major trails, but perhaps more important are the deforestation. So topmost priority, one of the topmost concern, more than that, But perhaps more important are the deforestation and impacts on water supplies arising from the need to provide tourists with cooked food and hot showers. In both mountains and desert, one is slow growing trees, slow growing hyphenated trees are frequently, often the main source of fuel, and water supplies may be limited or vulnerable to degradation through heavy use. So, deforestation, different meaning is degradation through heavy use. Why that degradation is happening? Through heavy use. Stories about the problems of tourism have become legion in the last few years. This word legion means very large number. The difficulties surrounding the court case are legion, means very large number. Stories about the problems of tourism have become legion, become very large. L for large, legion. Large in the region. Legion in the last few years. It does not have to be a problem. Although tourism inevitably, unavoidably affects the region in which it takes place, the cost to these fragile environments and their sensitive environments and their local cultures can be minimized, can be solved, can be minimized. Indeed, it can even be a vehicle. See, last video, if you are seeing, at that time I am saying the usage of ideal vehicle. It's related to travel and tourism. They use this word for vehicle. It's not exactly vehicle. It's not vehicle. It can even be a vehicle for reinvigorating local cultures, as has happened with the shops. What is the meaning? It's the vehicle for reinvigorating. Let me check the pronunciation first.
Reinvigorate. Reinvigorate.
Reinvigorate.
Reinvigorate.
Indeed, it can be a vehicle for reinvigorating local cultures. So the meaning is to make someone feel healthier and more energetic again. That is the meaning. It can be a vehicle for reinvigorating, which means they are helping the local, making the local cultures healthy, right? So that is known as a vehicle for reinvigorating local cultures. Good sentence. Always keep this type of sentence for yourself. Indeed, for your essays. Indeed, it can even be a vehicle for reinvigorating local cultures, as has happened with these two places. And this is the example sentence. And a growing number of adventure tourism operators are trying to ensure that their activities benefit the local population and environment over the long term. Activities benefit the local population and environment for over the long term. In the Swiss Alps, communities have decided that their future depends on integrating tourism more effectively with local economy. That is known as ecotourism. Their future depends on integrating tourism more effectively. So if they are integrating tourism with the local economy, with the local people, at that time it's known as ecotourism. So that these local people are also getting the benefits, right? Local concern about the rising number of second home developments in the Swiss result in limits being imposed on their growth. So locals are concerned about what? Rising number of second home developments in dash, certain limits being imposed on their growth. There have also been a renaissance. Renaissance means interest. Okay, interest in art, literature, painting. That is known as renaissance. Okay, you think interest. There has also been a interest in communal cheese production in the area, providing the locals with a reliable source of income that does not depend on outside visitors. Okay, communal. So as a result, they even started a communal cheese production program also, providing the locals with a reliable. So now the tourists local people are getting reliable source of income that does not depend on outside visitors. So they have their own money now. Many of the Arctic tourist destinations have been exploited by outside companies who employ transient workers and repatriate most of the profits to their home base.
Repatriate.
Repatriate.
Repatriate. Repatriate.
Repatriate. Which means send or bring someone or sometimes money or other property back to the country that he or she or it came from. Say if you are going for work visa in Dubai, and if you are bringing back that money which you earned in Dubai, that is known as repatriation. The government repatriated him because he had no visa, which means they sent him back because he doesn't have that visa. Okay, and repatriate most of the profits to their home base. So they bring back that most of the profits to their home base. Home base means the locals are getting, okay, that money, extra money. But some Arctic communities are now operating two businesses themselves, thereby ensuring that benefits accrue locally. Why we have to focus on the pronunciation? It's for the speaking.
Accrue. Accrue.
Accrue, which means follow. But some Arctic communities are now operating two business themselves, thereby ensuring, thus, instead of thus we can write, thereby ensuring that the benefits follow locally. So accrue meaning is to increase in number or amount over a period of time. So basically which means increase, right? Thereby ensuring that the benefits increase locally. Locals should get all the benefits. Interest will increase, accrue on the account at a rate of 7%. For instance, a native corporation in Alaska employing local people is running an air tour from dash to dash where tourists eat Arctic food, walk on the tundra, and watch local musicians and dancers. So they are native corporations, so employing local people. Okay. Native people in the desert regions of the American Southwest have followed similar strategies, encouraging tourists to visit their. So they encourage tourists to visit their dash and reservations to purchase high quality handcraft. High quality, so benefit of tourism. Okay, to purchase high quality handicraft and artwork. Dash have established highly profitable pottery business. Okay, while the dash groups have been similarly successful with jewelry. Okay, have established highly profitable, successful Pottery business and some while, see the usage of while. There is a comma before. Similarly, too many people living in fragile environments have lost control over their economies, their culture, and their environment when tourism has penetrated their homeland. Spread the homeland, okay, penetrated their homeland. And their environment when tourism has penetrated their homelands. Home base. Previously we studied one vocabulary also, home base. Okay. Merely restricting tourism cannot be the solution. So what is the solution? Simply restricting tourism is not the solution. Merely restricting, say this is for your solution essay. Merely restricting tourism cannot be the solution to the imbalance, because people's desires to see new places will not just disappear. Conclusion sentence you can write. Okay. Instead, communities in fragile environment must achieve greater control over tourism ventures in their region. So the local people should be getting the that control. Greater control must achieve greater control over tourism ventures in their region. In order, excuse me, in order to balance their needs and aspirations with demands of tourism. Tourism ventures penetrated their homelands. Tourism penetrated. See, in order to balance, here they talked about imbalance. In order to balance their needs and aspiration with the demand of tourism. A growing number of communities are demonstrating that, showing that, illustrating that, demonstrating that with firm communal decision making, firm local people decision making, this is possible. The critical question, see if you write this and all, it's really good. The critical question now is whether this can become the norm, whether it can think as norm as normal. The critical question now is whether this can become the norm rather and the exemption. Okay, usage of rather than the exemption. If you are going through situations where you cry a lot, okay, you can pray like this: hear my prayer, O Lord, and give ear to my cry. Listen to my cry. Okay, ask God to listen to your cry. Do not be silent at my tears. Don't be silent. Do not be silent at my tears, for I am a stranger with you, a sojourner like all my fathers, which means travel, stay temporarily at one place. That is known as, like, we are living in this world, but we are staying here for temporarily. Whatever the problems that we are facing, that is a temporary problems. So, but the thing is that when we are here, the problems which make us cry, ask God, hear my prayer. Oh, see how to pray. How to pray in the sense, ask, tell this Bible verse repeatedly: hear my prayer, O Lord, and give ear to my cry. Do not be silent at my tears. So if you repeatedly asking God to not be silent, definitely God has to answer, right? So repeat this Bible verse till you feel your pressure, that burdenness of your heart has dissolved, okay, ended, okay. Till then repeat it. So Bible verse, which means it's like a weapon. It's like a weapon which can destroy the enemy. So that's why I'm asking you to repeat till you get a satisfaction. Thank you.